how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel and welcome back to October Lake and Planet Zoo, a project we're working on building this really large wildlife park situated in the Canadian Highlands. In today's episode we are going to be building a restaurant and a habitat for some greater flamingo. If that does sound good to you and if you do like today's episode, please do consider subscribing to the channel and of course do leave a like down below. With the intro out of the way, let's talk about today's episode and what we're going to be doing. So like I said, we're building a restaurant, which I think ends up looking quite nice. It's a little lakeside restaurant. It's kind of next to some of the guest amenities we've already put out, which were kind of like these outdoorsy kind of stalls. Whereas for this building, I kind of intend for it to be a much more kind of a cozy indoor restaurant. But of course, because I am rubbish at interiors, I'm not actually going to build an interior for it. I'm just going to make it look all nice on the outside. There will be shops on the inside, and I'm going to make that exterior bit that kind of pokes out above the lake, going to make that look quite nice. And I think it ends up kind of getting pulled together quite nicely. But of course, I am really no good at like doing the insides of buildings. There are some like Planet Z content creators who I've seen who are incredible at making interiors, like really incredible, and it always blows my mind to see them do it because there's so much more detail work I think that goes into interiors because you need to make them feel quite real, and it's a lot more like tiny things and stuff which I am just not great at doing. So I will leave that to the pros and I'll kind of stick to the things which I'm quite enjoying doing. Though, you know, I might dabble in some interiors in the future, you never know. But yeah, it was a very fun project this. The restaurant itself, not super big. It connects over to that other building over there, so you'd imagine maybe there's some seating in there as well. And then I really like this little, it's quite a simple structure, this kind of like pier type situation where people can have like a little meal sitting over here, like overlooking the lake. And I think it looks really nice. It also overlooks the flamingo habitat, so there's a really nice view of them. So I just overall like it. And I used one of the new features from the game, which were dropped with the last update, which were the vista points. So you can just place those in specific locations, and then crowds will gather around it to look at whatever it is that's nearby. So I put that over there, and people tend to gather to look at the penguins? Sorry, the flamingos. Over here, I'm just decorating the front of the building. I've found that I've actually really liked using this rock texture quite sparingly. I think it looks really nice and kind of sells the vibe I was going for quite well, so I'm very happy with that. I kind of wanted to avoid all the buildings looking a bit too samey. They are starting to feel a little bit like that because everything's kind of using the same kind of, either the same slate roofing or the Arctic roofing plus the stained wood. So I think I'm going to try and venture out and try using a few more different colors, a few more, just slightly more different architectural styles as well. Kind of bring a little bit more variety and diversity into the architecture of the park. Though I gotta say, I think we're really coming along with the park quite nicely. We are, you know, coming quite close to the end where I can't really see us adding in too many more particular large habitats. Though I was mentioning, I think I mentioned this right at the beginning of the park build, like way back in episode 1, and also like in a couple episodes here and there, but I don't think October Lake will stop with the last habitat because I kind of want to build outside the zoo, so to speak. I want to build like little wildlife trails that you can walk along in the mountains. I want to build like watchtowers in the hills and stuff like that. You know, stuff that isn't part of the zoo but that guests can go and do. Obviously within a headcanon as opposed to within the actual park. Like the guests in the game can't actually, you know, do that, but I thought it'd be cool to have this idea of little hiking trails and stuff, which would be quite cool. I think I might add a little area by the lake which has canoes and stuff where, you know, guests could rent those out and then go for a little paddle around the water, which I think will look quite nice. So I'm gonna add things like that, and obviously that will take a few more episodes and stuff, but October Lake I think is steadily climbing towards a bit of a finish, which is, it's kind of bittersweet for me. So a little history about the channel. My last park build, Sannikov Land, was always meant to be kind of my big one, you know, the park that I built for ages and I would keep going at it. But I kind of ran into some issues with it in the sense that I just kind of lost interest in that particular park. I kind of lost steam with it, and every time I wanted to return to it, I struggled. Also because it was great in a way where I learned a lot about my building style, and I kept learning and growing as I built that park. But then, as I came to go back to it, I found that so many things about the way I build have changed, and the idea of going back and changing everything to match my current style just felt a little bit overwhelming, so I just never ended up going back to it. And weirdly enough, October Lake was only meant to be quite a chill project to get me back into Planet Zoo, but now October Lake has kind of taken that position from Sandbox Land, in the sense that I feel like this park is a lot more really, a special thing for me, in the sense that I've really put all of my effort and skill and kind of love into this, and I really feel quite strongly that this is some of my best work in the game, and I genuinely loved every second of building in it. Whereas with Sandbox Land, as much as I did love it, towards the end I did struggle to find the motivation and stuff. But with October Lake, I've never felt like I'm overwhelmed or, like not motivated to build here. I always have something I want to do here. I'm always excited to build, always excited to do things. And I think that's the way it should be. And it was just, a really interesting revelation, I guess, in my head. So I guess that might be taken as confirmation that I might not ever be going back to Sandbox Land to finish it. I still might, but that's a very, very heavy might, because I don't know. Well, I might just continue making new projects, and I think that might be for the best, because I feel like my creativity and my my motivation has really been quite strong for a lot of these newer projects. Or I say these newer projects, primarily October Lake. But also, the new Jurassic World Evolution projects, and with Jurassic World Evolution 2 coming out too, I'm sure there's going to be loads of new stuff there. We are, not far off from probably getting a new Planet Zoo DLC. I can't imagine that's that far off now. Like, if we follow that 3-month kind of interval period, I don't think we're super far away from the next one, so that it'd be really nice to see whatever we get next. I would love, there's been a lot of speculation about what we might get next. I think Aviaries is of course the big one. I don't know if we'll get that soon. I feel like they might save that for a big, end of year kind of thing. I would love a few honestly I would love some sequel packs, a second South American pack, for example, with just animals, or a second just a second version of the pack we already have, but just animal focused. I think that'd be pretty cool. Imagine we get a second South America pack, for example, and we get capybaras, we get green anaconda, we get rheas, maybe, stuff like that, where you get more animals from the same area. Or if I would also like some more building stuff, of course. I think that's always a great thing to have. A North American pack, I think, has been discussed by people. People like to see that. I think that'd be pretty cool. There's a lot of cool North American animals out there. We could get beavers, we could get mooses. Those are always really cool, and moose are gigantic. I remember seeing a video of one and just being blown away. They're such cool animals too. So yeah, little tangent aside, I think I would be excited for really anything they have to offer. I think Planet Zoo, honestly, I just hope we get as many more DLCs as Frontier are willing to put out, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's my favorite game of all time, and I would absolutely love more content, just in any way, shape or form. So more than happy to wait for that. But if I were to place my bets, I would say we were probably gonna get some sort of 4 animal plus building pack. I mean, I would like an animal pack, but I think I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I've seen in comments and stuff, I think people tend to prefer the building packs because they have more to do with them. Even though I would personally, I find them both really nice. I obviously love having things to build with, but the kind of having more interesting animals and stuff is always a really nice thing as well. And like I mentioned, with potentially an aviary pack in the future, I think that'd be amazing. Of course, if you've seen any of the new stuff with Jurassic World Evolution 2, you know that there are free flying pterosaurs in that game. So I'm assuming they've kind of figured out the flying mechanics and stuff at Frontier, and I imagine it's not super hard to kind of move assets and animations and stuff over, because like if you look at Jurassic World Evolution, you'll actually see a few like Planet Zoo based assets. So if you look at the foliage and stuff, you'll notice some of them are like almost directly cloned from Planet Zoo things, which is by no means a bad thing. Like that's just them being efficient and in a good way, because the Planet Zoo stuff already looks amazing. You know, might as well port it over. So like, you know, fingers crossed that continues to be a thing, and maybe they port over some flying mechanics and some more interesting things like that. So I think that would be pretty cool to see. An aquarium pack could be interesting to see as well in the future, you know, like just like small fish and more things like little otters and things like that would be pretty cool. So, you know, I'm like I said, up for anything. But I always do this. I forget to talk about what's going on screen. So as you can see, we finished up with the restaurant. Now we're like finishing up this pedestrian bridge, which actually leads people across the October Lake itself, from the main part of the zoo towards this other part here, which has, you know, kind of the African animals and some of the actually it's almost purely African animals here at the moment. I can't think of any which are not, so maybe we will add just purely African animals on this side, so that'll be nice. Because the zoo itself isn't super themed, there are a few like areas which have like specific types of animals. There's the tropical house, for example, there's the Southeast Asian section, and then here there's the African section, but otherwise it's a very much a free flow kind of zoo, which I think is one of those other reasons that it's kept me kind of like creatively inclined, is that I didn't feel restricted by any means. I was able to just build in different themes, in different styles, with different animals, just whatever felt right, and I thoroughly enjoy that. Now while we're actually doing this, I only built the flamingo habitat itself in like about 10 seconds or so. That's when I get started. So let's talk about flamingos themselves, because, you know, I always love talking about the animals, and I haven't done that today, so let's talk about them. So, quick fun fact, the flamingo is the first ever animal I built a habitat for on this channel. So if you go right back to episode 2 of my first ever series, you will see that I built a habitat for some flamingos. It was such a long time ago at this point, but it's nice to revisit this animal, because I have not built a habitat for flamingos since, and it's been a long time, nearly 2 years, so that's kind of crazy. They're a very fascinating animal, of course notable for being super pink. That pink actually gets more vibrant when they eat their preferred prey, which is krill, I believe, or is it shrimp? Krill or shrimp, which one is it? Let me search that up, because I kind of want to know. Wow, this page that I'm reading from about flamingo is really not super helpful, because it says the coloration comes from pigments in the organisms that live in their feeding grounds. Which organisms are those? I assume it's krill. I think it also is shrimp and stuff like that, so maybe I am mistaken. Let me double check this. Oh, okay, so it really is organisms. It's loads of stuff. It's algae, diatoms, so insects like small larval forms, crustaceans, shrimp, you know, pretty much anything that fits through their like little filter that's in their beak. This specific species that we have in the game is the greater flamingo, which is the largest type of flamingo and is prevalent kind of across the world, but primarily Africa, the Indian subcontinent. I don't think it actually goes over the ocean towards North and South America, so it's an old world animal, but it is found kind of all over the place, and they're very, very cool. And of course a staple in zoos, often without actually having any barriers and free roaming, which is pretty cool. They have very long average lifespans, between 30 and 40 years in the wild, but in captivity a lot longer. In fact, there was one specific flamingo at Adelaide Zoo in Australia which lived up to be 83 years old, which is incredibly impressive. It wasn't like exact, but it said that it was at least 83, so it could have been much older as well. So very, very long-lived animals, which is not like super uncommon in birds. Like there's a lot of bird types which do live really long, especially parrot species. Parrots live really, really long lifespans, which is quite cool. But yeah, really interesting animals. When I was a kid, I remember not understanding how flamingos worked at all. I saw them standing in the water and I would always think to myself, do those legs just go like hundreds of meters down to the bottom of the lake floor or something? Because I was a kid and I had no idea how anything worked. But of course they are waders. They use those long legs to wade through shallow waters, and then they'll stick their bill through the ground. Sorry, not through the ground, through the water. And they've got these little filtery bits on the inside of their bill, and that filters out organisms into the mouth, and then, well, they eat it. Quite interestingly as well, unlike a lot of other birds, they lay a single white egg, and instead of like a big nest of a bunch of eggs, they only lay one, which is quite cool. The chicks are super cute. They have this really nice grey kind of fluffy down to them, and the parents do look after them, as is typical amongst most birds. But yeah, that is flamingos for you. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about them if you haven't known any of that before. I'm not super familiar with flamingos. Like, I do like birds, but I don't know an awful lot of detail about some of them, so I find it very interesting whenever I'm reading about them. Like, I suddenly find out like, oh, the cool little fact. Like, I didn't know how old flamingos could get until today, which is really cool. One final little note, which is a nice thing to know as well, is that they are not endangered. They are least concern, which is just, whenever I see like the words least concern when I'm researching an animal, it just makes me a little bit happy, knowing that, oh, this is cool. This species is not endangered. They're doing well. Nice, and hopefully they stay that way, of course. Beautiful animals nonetheless. Anyways, we're coming up to the tail end of the episode now. As you can see, we're just doing up some rock work and some foliage just on both sides of the habitat. So if it was all land, this would probably be the largest habitat in the zoo, but of course most of it's water, and I wanted to give the impression that these are free roaming animals. In a lot of zoos, flamingos just flat out are free roaming animals. As you can see, I put on these little wooden kind of buoy type things in the water. I thought that looked kind of nice, and also gave an actual form of like what do you call it, barrier, so that the flamingos can't actually escape. Obviously it wouldn't really be bad in any way if they did escape. In fact, in the latest update, I think there was a sandbox thing that you could disable escapes altogether. I'm not sure if it works, I haven't really tested it, but it is on anyway, so hopefully they don't try to escape either way. Just adding in some foliage now. It's primarily a rocky habitat, and then added some enrichment and stuff. But yeah, overall I think it looks quite nice, and I'm very happy with how this area of the park is turning out. Probably got 1 or 2 more habitats in the back there we have space for, so look forward to those videos. But with all that said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for the support. As always, apologies for no video last week. I'm in a bit of a hectic time in my life, as you might have seen on my community post. But thanks as always for the support. If you did like the video, do give it a like, subscribe for more Planet Zoo content, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys!